welcome to today's Wow Live Nutrition. We're talking about soup season or seasonal soups. It is that time of year, and I have a special guest with me today, Chef Josh.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Josh is our sous chef at the Hub, so that it's connected to the main Humana Tower. So he's going to help me share with you guys making soup without a recipe and just build some of your cooking from home confidence. I do have the chat over here open, so if you have like questions throughout or want to share one of your recipes or whatever, just put it in there. It is on my Viva Engage page, Nutrition with the Flick Dietitian. So if you do not want an email for every comment left today, you can adjust that. You have to click the three little dots up by the header and tell it to unfollow or no, don't unfollow. I don't know. Mess with the settings over there. So just a little heads up. You will get 250 Wow Bucks for joining today. So some of y'all may not have all your Wow Bucks yet, although I would bet that most of you do. So get you some more Wow Bucks scrolled away before they come to an end for the exciting new platform coming next year. So you'll get a survey at the end. We have a QR code. We'll have a link. All the things. It's the same as usual. What else do we need to say? I don't remember. But hello, I'm Amanda.
Yes, awesome.
Do y'all know? Most of you don't know who I am. I'm Amanda. I'm the registered dietitian. I'm a wellness manager with Flick Hospitality. We manage Humana's food service program. And then I get to partner with Humana Health and Wellbeing to bring food and nutrition tips to all the Humana associates. So we have people joining from all over the country, which is really exciting. And yeah, so we got this webinar today. Next Thursday, I have another webinar with the Native American Indigenous Peoples NRG, which is going to be really fun and cool. And then one in December, super special, with Corey from Elixir Kombucha here in Louisville.
Oh, wow.
Is coming
That's amazing.
in. And we're going to talk about kombucha and gut health and all the things. So we're going to talk a little bit about immune building or immune supporting.
Correct.
Soups.
Yeah.
So, Josh, we're going to warm you up.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions.
Uh-oh.
So I'm going to get to know you real fast.
Okay.
What is your favorite fast food?
Favorite fast food? I would say Chick-fil-A.
What's your order? I'm currently bemoaning Chick-fil-A for
Are
the
you?
amount that we consume.
Well, that pimento cheese sandwich is amazing.
Did you like it?
Yeah,
You
totally.
guys have copycatted it.
Yeah, we did, and it's amazing as well. So come try it out.
Pimento cheese. Do you make the pimento cheese?
We do.
You.
I don't personally, no. But we're following a Flick recipe, so it's amazing, and you should come check it out.
Yeah. Yummy. My pleasure.
Yeah, but I mean Chick-fil-A, you know that you're always going to get something good, and they always get it right. So how can you go wrong?
Okay, what do you like to order at Taco Bell?
Taco Bell, Taco Supremes with onions. I add onions to everything.
You were sure of it.
Yeah.
Is it fair that the dietitian's only talking about fast food so far?
I know.
Hey, we're all real people.
Yeah.
We all have to hit the drive-thru.
Totally.
But sometimes we cook at home too, and I would say more than sometimes. So you have told me you live in a cul-de-sac.
I do.
You have wonderful neighbors.
I do.
And you like to cook for them.
I do. And I don't know how to cook for less than 20 people, so I always have extra leftovers, so I always donate them.
Yeah, so the AV team today will enjoy. We have our containers. We can take some home if we end up making a giant batch, but we'll see how it comes together. So today we're going to make some pho-ish.
Pho.
Chicken noodle soup.
Correct. We are.
Yeah, but first we want to walk through with you guys on building soup without a recipe, or even when you're making a recipe, kind of what some of those general steps are that they're always following.
Correct.
And so we made a little chart. We've got our little do's and our don'ts, right? And I think what you'll notice there the thing that maybe shines out the most is there's only one do not when it comes to soup.
Yeah, do not dump everything in there and stir it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a big don't.
You're gonna not develop as much flavor
Correct.
as you could.
Yeah, I mean if soups were that simple, and then everybody would just how do you differentiate chicken noodle from vegetable soup? I mean it's more than just ingredients. It's all about a process. So
yeah.
So developing flavors.
So developing flavor. So that's
Correct.
the number one step on the do. So how do we develop flavor? What's your first step when you're building soup?
Your first step in building soup is you usually start with aromatics. Generally carrots, celery, onions.
Mirepoix.
Yes, mirepoix.
That's
So that's
word.
kind of the base for, I would say, 75% of the soups that you're going to come across start that way, unless it's a specific recipe like a potato soup or something like that. But
Right.
even those, I mean, you can feel free. Soups are great because you can make them whatever you want them to be. You know, unless you want to call it something specific, you don't have to be specific.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a great way to use up leftover items and that kind of stuff as well too. So
Yeah. All right. We'll talk a little more about aromatics soon because there's so much more than just mirepoix.
correct.
Seasoning throughout. So like when your veggies are sautéing, you can kind of salt them. Then that helps them release their juices and like caramelize a little better.
It does.
Like building flavor throughout.
And it's not something that you don't want to just, you know, turn the pot on high, throw everything in there, and just kind of stir it around. You know,
Boil it to
it's-
death.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of
Like
while.
a cauldron, like
Correct.
a witch's cauldron.
Correct. So,
That's just what I pictured.
well, it's that time of year too, so
Uh-huh.
you know.
It is. And then considering contrast. So that's something that we will bring to our soup today is considering flavor contrast. So like acidic versus creamy versus, well, creamy's not a flavor. That's a texture.
Yeah, it's more of a texture, but
Yeah. Fresh versus cooked versus, yeah, crunchy versus creamy.
yeah, it just plays on different types of textures, and you can do that during the cooking process, and you can do that with garnishes after the soup is done. So there's a lot of different ways to incorporate different textures and flavors.
Yeah. So that's
soup,
that's
so.
a good key. So that's on your do list. Think about that. And then
Correct.
garnish well. Which
Yes.
we got a lot of garnishes.
We do. And you can always, and we'll talk about that later, you can always adjust it to whatever you like to put in it, or, you know, go crazy with it. So,
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're seeing more slides. They were just seeing the opening slide there for a minute, but
okay.
then I wanted to share with you guys, I love this graphic that I found on Cook Smart's website. Cook Smarts.
Cook Smart.
I'm sorry. There's like the S in there. It's like, where does it go? This is such a handy website. Our chefs would probably look at it and be like, oh yeah, I know all of this. But
Yeah.
if you're at home and you're like, I'm just learning, like it's an awesome resource.
It is. It really is, because it kind of guides you step by step through the soup making process of when to do what.
Yeah.
And if you happen to do things out of order, or you've done things out of this order, it's not the worst thing in the world.
You're gonna be okay.
You're going to be okay. The soups are very forgiving. So,
Yeah.
you know.
So I'm not gonna go through all the wedges of the cooking formula for soup because you can Google that quickly, like cooking soup on Cook Smarts. So instead we're just gonna show you with our hands and our
Correct.
kitchen here how
Correct.
we build soup.
Yep.
But yeah, there is kind of a flow to it all. So
There is.
your aromatics. We already talked a little bit about mirepoix, which I've talked about that many a times before. And that's kind of, is it French cooking?
Yeah, I
What's
mean,
it
it's classical
based
French
to?
cooking, but a lot of soups will use this same base just to start it off. So
Yeah.
it's technically French, but you'll see it throughout a
It's
bunch of different cuisines. Correct.
And then all the different cuisines kind of have their own like aromatic beginning. So like what really gives it its familiar flavor. So like the Holy Trinity is popular in like Creole,
Louisiana.
kind of Louisiana cooking. The onion, celery, pepper,
Correct.
and then they call garlic the Pope.
Yep.
Have you heard that?
Yeah, I have. Yep.
I think it's kind of cute. So frito is one onion, garlic, pepper, tomato. Man, they cook that down.
They do. And a lot of times they'll use tomato paste. So if you don't have fresh tomatoes, you can always keep tomato paste around and
Oh yeah,
kinda go
fresh
that way.
tomatoes take. Well, I say forever, but they just take a long time to cook down and get all
They,
the water
they
out.
do.
So tomato paste, great little hack.
Mhm.
And there are so many more. So that's where I loved Cook Smart's website. I found this guide and I thought, I'm just going to share this. I'm just going to take this straight from the internet because I love the visual, but it shows you like Middle Eastern cooking, like a lot of the beginnings for those types of dishes and really how you lend those flavors to what you're building without like necessarily having to use a recipe. So
And I did notice looking at this chart that onion or something in the onion family is in just about, I think, every one of them. So you can kind of see that kind of base. Onions go in just about everything.
they do.
So
Alliums. A lot of people are onion averse. Well, I say a lot. I know a handful of people who are onion averse and they're just like, no to the onions. But I'm telling you, when you cook an onion, like nice and slow and like let it caramelize. It gets sweet. It adds like such a good layer of flavor.
It does. It does. The worst part about onions is if you don't have gloves on, the smell will stay with your hands for a little bit. So
Or my cutting board.
yeah.
And then I'll like cut fruit and I'm eating it. I'm like, why does this taste like onions?
Have you ever cut an onion and then didn't wash the knife off and cut cheese or a piece of fruit or?
No, I always wash between. No, I have good hygiene practices. I would never. Just kidding. So visit that link there. It's really helpful. So some other soup essentials and some various things we want to talk about before we get into actual soup making. Obviously, I'm a dietitian. I'm always looking for ways to boost the nutrition. How can we add more goodness? Sometimes it can displace some of those things you're wanting to have less often. I'm really just trying to keep that mindset of abundance. How can I add more? And I think a great way to make your soup go further and add more nutrition is use some of those meat extenders. So things like that have similar textures, like whole grains or beans, lentils are great, and even like cooked down mushrooms are nice to add to soup to really bulk it up, especially if you're using like ground meat. Really mixes it.
Bulgur wheat is a really good one for kind of imitating that ground meat texture in soups. So we did a pumpkin chili a while back, and it seemed to be a fan favorite.
It was really good.
And that was kind of
the recipe on my page.
Yeah, that was kind of the meaty ingredient in that recipe. So
yeah, it's
it
kind of crazy. Like the mind tells you.
Correct.
There's meat in there just because of the texture, and then you can add like umami flavor in other ways, like that kind of savory, salty, mysterious flavor. So use your meat extenders wisely, and I always use a giant heavy pot. So there are stock pots.
There are.
Which are just a big aluminum pot, which are fine as well. They just hold a lot. But this is like heavy. It like distributes the heat well.
And a heavier bottom pot you're not gonna have to worry about sticking as much as you would on a thin. Think about it, a thinner pot is going to be more like cooking directly on the heating element that you're with. So the thicker the bottom of the pot is probably the most important thing I would tell anyone. The sides, not so much. But that thick bottom pot is really important in anything. Saute pan,
I thought it just had to do with heat distribution.
It does, but it just,
more.
have you ever had that skillet that you put on the stove and it just kind of wobbles around in pots? And
That's when it's time to get rid of that pot.
Yeah, correct.
I told you I have 4 pots and pans that I use at any given time, and none of them wobble right now. So we're like a really good place at home. These food storage containers are super handy for storing homemade broth if you're fancy like that, for storing leftover soups.
Chefs use them as a drink.
Use them for everything.
A drink container.
I don't know. And then another super handy savvy thing that I love that Chef had not seen before.
No, I hadn't. No.
Nope, Carrie hadn't seen them. All my buddies haven't seen them. I've told you all about these before out there in the Humana world. These super cubes. This was $20, so it's not like cheap by any means, but it's silicone and it has this lid on it, so you just slide whatever it is that you're freezing. You can easily slide it into the freezer because it has that like thick edge. These are, what's 250 mils? Is that a cup? 2 cups?
I think that's
cup and a half.
Yeah, about a cup and a half.
It's
a cup.
Okay.
It's roughly a cup.
They come in all different sizes, but it's such a great way to freeze whatever it is you're freezing and then pop them out so easily and put them in like a freezer baggie or whatever you're going to store it in the freezer. Just helps take up less space. They have like little bitty ones. Like, I guess you could use an ice cube holder for those. But like to make little sauces, or if you're going to save some herbs, you could use this small super cube. These are cute. Anyway,
just makes life easier.
A little bit easier.
Yeah,
just
totally.
A little hack. Just another reason to spend money on Amazon. As if we needed.
We don't do enough of that already, right?
I swear that, I want to know what percentage of neighborhoods have an Amazon truck drive down it every day.
Every day, I would say we're probably in the 90s.
90
plus
I would.
percent.
I'm like, oh, did I order something? And it's my neighbor.
I know. I don't know whether to get excited or upset. The fact that I'm getting something or I'm getting skipped over. So.
All right. Well, we have some more stuff that we're going to talk about, like 6-season strategies and ways to really kind of boost up. I keep using the word boost immune system. We don't want a boosted immune system.
No.
That's an overactive immune system.
Right.
And people don't like it. It ain't good when your immune system's like a little too efficient. But ways to support your immune system in this 6th season that is surely coming our way. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think we should get to start cooking.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay,
Let's do it.
What are we making?
So we are gonna make, I call it Asian-inspired chicken noodle soup or pho, whatever you want to call it.
Pho-ish.
Traditionalists would look at it and say that's not pho.
That's why I wrote "ish" at the end.
Yeah,
'cause we
yeah.
Can riff.
So,
we can
but
riff
you know
if
what?
we
It's
want.
soup. You can call it whatever you want to. So that's just what I like to call it. It's something I make at home a lot. So it's very similar to just traditional chicken noodle soup. A few variances in there to kind of change the flavor profile. But other than that, you'll see it kind of be prepared in much the same way that you would prepare traditional chicken noodle soup. So
Well, when we were talking about like what soup are we gonna make, like what can we teach the people of Humana the most, and I was like, you know what? Let's just go back to basics. Like, how do we make a good chicken noodle soup, but then like add a little pizzazz, a little chef pizzazz to it, and that's when you're like, let's do garlic, let's do ginger, let's do great toppings. We're gonna use vermicelli noodles, so.
And the dish in the end looks really pretty aesthetically, you know, so having those garnishes kind of on top, which pho is kind of served that way anyway, usually accompaniments on the side, and you just kind of top it however you like. So it gives you a little bit of, here's a traditional soup, and let me customize it to my own liking as well, post-cooked. So, you know, it's nothing the chef has to worry about. You can kind of let your guests
figure it out.
Yeah.
If you don't want what I'm making, make it yourself.
Yeah, we're going to start a soup charcuterie board craze. Yeah?
Soup charcuterie?
Yeah, why not? We'll just make one base soup and have a bunch of toppings.
And you get to add
and you get to do it however you want to.
Oh,
right?
that's going to be a
Yeah, they're all the rage right now. So.
Are you kidding?
Charcuterie boards in general?
Oh,
yeah. Have you seen it? Yeah, just the butter boards and all that stuff.
Yeah, I thought you meant soup charcuterie boards really were a thing.
No. We're going to make them.
We're going to make them. Okay,
we're going to make them.
Here goes. Hashtag soup charcuterie.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to watch Chef Josh's knife skills.
Uh-oh. I've got 10 fingers. I'm going to leave with them today, okay?
Okay, good.
All right,
And
so first thing, we're going to get a cut glove and some gloves going here.
We always have a cut glove on. Some people are probably like, what is that thing? But look, if you're not
Speaking of Amazon,
savvy,
you know.
$10, that's
$10.
it. If you don't feel savvy with the chef's knife yet, you need to practice with one. But don't cut your fingers off. Don't cut the tips of your fingers off. Don't cut your fingernails off. I mean, you can really.
No,
get
but
a lot
it
of
really
things.
is a good way to get someone comfortable enough with a knife where they're not scared of it. You know, my wife is notorious for turning a round onion into a square cube. I think partly and because. You laugh, but y'all open up my fridge and that onion will look at, or maybe it'll
do?
like a trapezoid, and I'm like, okay, let's go start over here. But I think
do
that's
it-
from fear of here's my hand, I don't want to lose any of these.
Yeah,
so,
I'm just trying to.
so this kind of helps you get comfortable with a knife before you try the real thing, you know, or go without one.
Yeah.
So
So you have your cut glove. We also have our little trash bin. Love
I
to
do.
just have something close by so you can throw your scraps in.
correct. And then we're just going to start here. We're going to start peeling some carrots.
Do you want me to
Alright,
peel your carrots?
So yeah, you can
I feel
totally
like
if
I'll
you
peel
want
the
to.
carrots and you can.
I think
chop
those
some.
two would be good enough.
Yeah,
We'll
these
start
are
with those, and I'll get a-
Giant carrots. I feel like they're close to newborn size.
Yeah, they are pretty pretty big. I have a
They're
picture on
huge.
my phone of a carrot that came in just a random bag, and it looks like two carrots intertwined together.
Oh, do you know how that happens?
No.
Well, and carrots need really loose, loamy soil for
Uh-huh.
because they're a root, obviously. And if they grow down and they hit a rock or something, they split.
Oh wow.
So that's when you'll see them like with legs, or
Uh-huh.
like, and then they may come back together. But if the soil is rocky, that's why.
Oh wow. Huh.
This was very sandy, loamy soil. I will say
Yeah,
that.
because these are they're just perfectly straight. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
You don't see them
that's-
like that too often.
That's not what my carrots look like in my garden. But
So yeah, if you want to go ahead and start peeling those, and another thing.
I don't have a cut glove on. Don't tell Flick.
No, and you know those peelers are designed to go both ways, and some people you'll see
Oh.
videos online of them trying to do it. To me, it creates more of a mess than it's worth.
I'm
I
gonna
prefer
try
to
it.
just aim my shreds into something, or a lot of times what I'll do at home is throw out a piece of plastic wrap or parchment paper and peel directly on that everything that I'm peeling that day. And that way I can just pick up the whole piece of parchment and carry it over to the garbage can, and you're not,
My
dropping stuff.
mother-in-law uses parchment paper in the kitchen.
I
and
use
stuff all
parchment
the time.
paper a lot.
She
for-
will, like, all her cornbread ingredients, there aren't that many ingredients, or any biscuits or whatever, she'll just lay out her flour, her baking powder, everything on the parchment paper.
I do too. When I'm making cookies at home, I put it on the parchment paper, I pick up the parchment paper and dump it into the mixing
But
bowl.
why don't you just dump it in the mixing. Oh,
Because you have to
you're adding
sift it,
the
and
granule.
sometimes if you've ever tried to dump a bowl into a mixer bowl, and
Okay,
then you
that's
get to
a
the bottom and there's a little
touche.
bit left, and you're trying to tap it without hoping you don't drop the bowl into the mixer. So it really just kind of makes
okay.
things easier, and it makes cleanup easier.
I will.
There's
tell-
not as a dish you don't have to wash, and I'm all about when I cook at home.
dishes.
My wife does the cleaning and I do the cooking, so I try to be respectful and dirty up as little as possible.
Aw.
You know,
that's sweet.
so
Well, my mother-in-law was right. I love her. She is truly the best. And sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? She can make a square onion. She could make every.
yeah,
shape
I laugh
but it
every
ain't
time I
gonna
see
be-
one.
It ain't gonna be right. God love her. Oh, I'm loving this. This doesn't feel great, but I feel like it's.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward at first. I guess maybe that's why I don't do it because I've done it the other way for
I'm-
so long.
yeah.
That this just
I'm
feels
also
kind of.
5'2", and this is a giant bucket. And I'm like,
All right, so we got our carrots going. A little tip: you can, you cannot. Depends on what you're gonna do with it. If I was gonna eat these just as is with a crudité or something like that, I would peel my celery as well. It does kind of get caught up in the peel a little bit, so you just kind of have to take your time, and you may have to stop every once in a while and pick it out. I think for our purposes today, we don't really need to do it, but it's something to always keep in mind. Whenever you eat celery and you get those strings in your teeth, you can avoid that by just simply peeling them.
You want to know who else does that?
Who?
My mother-in-law.
Oh yeah.
she peels her celery. and
So
all
next
of them-
webinar, it's her and I.
What are
yes?
you
We're gonna
doing?
share our insider tips.
Well, do you want to know carrots? Like grocery store carrots, I usually do peel them. But if they've come out of my garden, I'm not peeling any of
No,
it.
and you really don't have
There's
to.
nutrients in there, and like I don't eat dirt. But
No,
like,
the only difference, I
soil
mean, it's going to
microbes are
give you a little less pleasing look to the carrot, but if you're throwing it in a soup, hey, who's really examining the carrot before they put it in their mouth anyway, I guess. You know, so
Okay.
that's that.
So we've talked about prepping our carrots. Now we're gonna
Correct.
prep our carrots and
Right.
ingredients. This is called mise en place, right?
Yes, you know what that means? What it translates to?
All in its place.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct. A place for everything in its place. So basically, that just means have all your stuff together before you eat. Before I even turn anything on, I'm gonna have every ingredient ready to roll. So
Chopped
that
and
way,
ready to go.
correct.
Yeah.
That way, when it comes down to it, all you have to do is pay attention to the pot that you're cooking in. So it just makes life a little bit.
It's also
easier
helpful
there.
to read your recipe first if you're following a recipe.
Yes, you should always read a recipe from start to finish
Know what
before
you're going
you get
into, yeah.
going, because you never know. You might miss something along the way, and then it's hard to revert back. Okay.
Not
so.
everyone's a good recipe writer. You could be halfway through and it's like,
Well, my biggest issue is
Two or
now
three
whenever you
hours.
look up a recipe online, you have to scroll through 5 pages of backstory on the recipe or the person who
you
wrote the
hit
recipe.
jump to recipe.
Correct.
then
And
hit-
some do, some have it, and some don't.
do. And then you hit print recipe, and then you look at the print page.
Correct.
Some of them still have ads, but that's my hack to the world.
Correct. And as far as this soup goes, it's meant to be rustic, so you can kind of cut these vegetables however you prefer to cut them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna split these carrots in half, and if I was gonna dice these, I'll just kind of show you a little bit. I might trim off a little bit just like that, or you could take the peeler and peel it a little extra on one side to give you a
Yes.
flat surface
That is
to
so
kind of hold it, so you know the carrot isn't doing this number on you
Yeah, that's
while you're
very
going.
good.
But for this, I'm not gonna do that. We're just gonna kind of rustically slice these things.
This is your trash bowl, Josh.
Oh well, thank you.
You're throwing your trash in all your fresh
I know.
vegetables.
It's my left-handedness. I always want to work to that way. But yeah, we're just gonna split these down the center.
So my carrots at home are purple.
Are they really?
Yep. There's-
Inside and out, or
some of them are yellow on the
Uh-huh.
inside, yellow.
yeah,
And then some of them are like kind of purplish, orangish on the
yeah.
inside.
I like to take those and usually do like a mix and roast them. I'll soak them in a little bit of orange juice and then just roast them off.
Ooh,
and
soak them
salt
in
and
orange
pepper.
juice?
Yeah. You'll get that orange, and then maybe a little bit of orange zest at the end when you pull them out of the oven. Oh, they're amazing. A little bit of olive oil drizzled on the end.
Uh-huh.
Just roast them. I don't roast them with oil because the orange juice, I like that taste of the
Kinda
fresh
like
olive
steams it
oil
a
at the
little
end.
too.
Correct.
Oh.
So we're just gonna take this. We're gonna slice this up here.
I do Parmesan cheese.
You
on
do?
Carrots. You like roasted till it's all crispy.
Yeah,
good.
and a little bit of chili powder. would be
Usually
good with
my
that,
pan
too.
ends up a total disaster. the sugars in the carrots have leached out and it's burnt. And I'm like, have to switch pans. I don't do everything perfectly at home, that's for sure.
No, you really don't have to. One of the things to just keep in mind is when you're doing this is just think about you're eating this with traditionally a spoon, right? A soup spoon, right? So you don't want things to be so big that you can't get them on that spoon.
That's a good tip. I talk about that a lot with salads too. Like
Correct.
to build a good bite, you want your things to be similarly shaped and sized. And when you're making soup, that's also helpful too. If you've got giant chunks of potato, it's gonna be hard to get everything else on.
Correct. So that's just something to think about.
Here, I have little bowls you can put those.
Yeah, I
in
would
here.
love one
They're down
right
here.
underneath me here. So I can clear out some of this board.
We're gonna put them up front.
And if I have another piece of advice, buy a bigger cutting board than you think you need. Because as you can see here, I like to get all my ingredients as much as I can on the board at one time. So I know what I'm working with.
You know, I respect mi en place. I do. But I also, like when I'm making soup, like I'm working left to right. I'm chopping stuff. Actually, I work right to left because where my stove is. But I'm chopping something, I'm throwing it in. I'm chopping something else, I'm throwing it in. And there's always something happening.
There is.
But that's because I'm always in a hurry.
And I kind of cook a lot by sound. So my stove is actually behind me at home from where I do most
Where
of my
you prep?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of listening. Well, usually I have one bad ear. So usually I'm like this and chopping at the same time. So
I usually have a book in one ear talking to me.
yeah,
I read books by listening on audiobooks. Yes, that's still reading a book, people.
it is. So we're just going to do the same thing with the celery here, trying to keep it about the same size as the carrots. And traditionally on, well, at least French traditionally, they'll tell you however much carrots and celery you have, you want that much of just onion combined.
So 1 part carrot, 1 part celery, 2 parts onion.
Correct.
Okay, that's how my brain visualizes.
So that's kind of how they go there.
I moved it.
I know,
You weren't using it.
I know. Now I
I'm
feel
here.
like I'm obligated to use it.
I'm here
so
for you.
Let's go ahead and get
someone
one more
reminded
roll.
me in the chat, and I have a video for you for this. I'll just share it on my Viva Engage page later. But saving your veggie scraps, so you can collect them. If you don't have enough to make a broth or whatever, you can just throw them in the freezer. Put them in a freezer baggie or whatever, and freeze them for later.
Correct.
And they can add some depth to a homemade broth.
Yeah,
All
it's amazing. You can take even canned broth or carton broth and add a little bit of mirepoix. Sometimes broths pre-made taste metallic-y to me. So I would almost rather, as you're going to see today, rather use a bouillon and water
Than a canned.
than a
jar.
canned or even jarred. Yeah, they're
Quart
kind
container.
of crazy there. So
Yeah.
that was, I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was kind of I don't know how you all peel onions at home, but I always just cut both ends off. Try to stay close on the root end, keep it on there. It'll produce a little bit less juice and maybe not as many tears. And just cut it down there.
Do you
and then just peel
get
it
tears
back.
when you cut onions?
It depends. Usually refrigerated onions seem to be worse
Oh.
than onions that are left out at room temperature. So at home, I leave onions, garlic, and potatoes out at room temperature.
No, everyone is gonna watch you chop these onions closely.
Yeah, I know, without tears. And there's all kinds of wives' tales, whether it be chew a piece of gum, cut near an open flame.
Yeah,
don't know
wet
that
a
any of
paper
them-
towel.
Yeah, I don't know if any of them really work. And honestly, red onions seem to be worse than white or yellows. So
You know, I wear contacts and my eyes don't water. But if I have
Really?
my glasses on, yeah,
then it gets trapped
they're
underneath.
my onion shields.
Yeah. So that's kind of. We're just gonna dice these onions here the same size as those, maybe a little bit smaller. Just kind of really just depends on how much you like onions, I guess.
I'm gonna turn the stove on.
Yeah, we can go ahead and get
What do
that
you want on?
going.
It goes up to.
Let's go medium.
It goes to.
And we'll kind of
10.
figure out how this stove works. It's my first time ever cooking on it, so
That's true. It heats up fast.
if you all see smoke, I have it too high.
Heats up fast, cooks hot. Well, we are using today coconut oil, so this does have a high cooking point, doesn't it? A smoke point, I mean.
Yeah, I believe it does. I don't really ever get that high with anything I'm gonna do temperature-wise as
Yeah.
with coconut oil, just for usually don't need it.
Don't need to be
No, and you
near smoke.
yeah, and kind of part of it is given that infusion of coconut flavor, and I feel like if you go too high, it just kind of dissipates. I don't know if that sounds kind of weird, but
Yeah.
it just seems to kind of go away.
Well, when it comes to oils, people are always asking me, what kind of oil should I cook with? And I think you all probably all heard me say this 1,000 times too. Is like vary your oils. Just coconut oil is a solid at room temperature, so it's higher in saturated fats, those that don't necessarily promote heart health. But as long as you're not only using coconut oil or you're not only using butter, you're fine. But I think it's good to kind of vary your oils.
Yeah, I use a lot of avocado oil.
Yeah, you know
spray the spray from.
I read an article that said most avocado oil is like filtered or has other oil in it.
Yeah, normally
And it's not
they'll
on the
use like a
label,
canola
though.
or a vegetable oil, and then
They're gonna get found out.
yeah. So make sure you may want to read the ingredient label on the particular brand that you purchase, just to make
No,
sure.
I don't even think it's on the ingredient label. I think it's all farce.
Yeah, it may be.
There are a lot of avocado pits out there, though. Like,
There are.
Wait, where is the avocado oil from? The pit or the?
I would
green
assume.
part?
I would assume. I don't know. To be
I
honest,
actually
with
don't
you,
know.
but
And then that makes it a seed oil. And
because I wouldn't
into
see much oil
controversy.
coming out. I mean, I've smashed a lot of avocados in my life, and I've never seen oil come out. So I'm assuming and probably I would guess in the same way that they do olive oil. They just kind of smash the seeds and you know.
But if you are buying coconut oil, I will say I like to get unrefined and cold pressed, so that will retain some of that flavor. When I'm using coconut oil, I want it to lend flavor. I think maybe some people want it to be neutral. That's what I look for. I don't necessarily look for organic. It's almost always organic, but cold pressed, unrefined. I use it to get my mascara off.
Do you really?
I do.
Wow.
I do.
I don't have that issue. So
You don't have that problem?
I don't. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start here. There's real no. You can just dump all the Mirepoix ingredients in here.
You're making so much soup.
I know.
Again.
I told you I don't know how to cook for less than 20 people. So so that's kind of the thing there. And with soup, it's such a holdover. Like again, with your freezing Amazon find there, or like you said, neighbors that I give it away to.
Mm-hmm. They're lucky.
Yeah.
I'm kind of your neighbor.
Just
ride your bike on
I
over.
send out we have a group chat and I send out texts and say, hey, who wants dinner tonight? So it's really kind of nice. So all I'm doing now is I'm going to chop a few ingredients that we're going to add to it a little bit later.
What are you looking for?
I had like a little 3-compartment kind of garnish set up here. These will work.
We don't know. I don't know where
These will be just fine.
I took it away.
Yeah, so
can't have
these
it.
items we're cutting now aren't going to go into the pot. They're for accompaniment later. But I wanted to go ahead and have them.
Get them ready. Well, batching task is helpful.
Outside of the ginger, we'll do a little bit of that real quick because I wanted to show you what to do here.
It's right here. I keep taking your stuff.
I don't want that.
You don't want
That's
that.
what I want to show you.
You don't want
Okay,
your
so-
veggie peeler.
Are you ready to have a race?
I'm not ready. I'm not prepared.
Okay,
I
no
don't have
racing
my
today?
cutting board.
All right. So best thing to peel.
Wait,
ginger
are we
with.
racing peeling it?
I mean, we could. You
I
could go
can
peeler
race.
versus spoon.
Yeah.
So what?
Sorry, not. I have to.
Yeah, I want to see which one. You know, I've never done this before. But a spoon, the edge of a spoon, plastic. I mean, this is a plastic one here. You can totally see it. Is the best thing to peel ginger with. Just use your thumb, kind of the old grandma peeling potato trick, and you can just run it. It really gets down, and you see that there.
Gosh, I'm
really
loving
gets
the
down
things
in
you're
the
saying.
cracks. You know, because ginger isn't the straightest vegetable out there.
No, they're
vegetable
funky.
root out there that you can find. So it just really kind of helps you peel
Smells
it.
so good. Does it make you want a ginger ale?
Yeah.
Have you ever made your own ginger ale?
I have not. I've made my own root beer at a restaurant that I worked for in the
Did I mean to
past.
say root beer? No, ginger ale.
No,
They're
ginger
both-
ale.
they're both-
I mix my ginger ale with cocktails, so that's kind of where I go. I'm a bourbon and ginger guy, so
I think you won.
which it wouldn't hurt to add a little bit of fresh ginger to a cocktail. So we got that peeled there. You can see how easy it was. There's a little bit of skin left. You just kind of trim that off.
I'm still going.
Yep, and she's still going. So we'll use that as well.
Pop some into tea. Really clear up your sinuses.
Correct. And then we're gonna take this ginger, and I just sliced it. Now you could totally slice this with a knife if you wanted to, or you can turn the knife on its side and just kind of tap it, and that's gonna smash it. You can see it there.
I did not realize it was so tender that it would smash
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see this with garlic as well.
I'm salting your veggies.
Yeah, totally. Feel free. But yeah, it just helps kind of make it a little bit finer of a chop without you having to spend 20 minutes trying to chop it up.
That does help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it almost pulverizes it there. I mean, you can kind of see that.
Yeah.
And then just kind of run your knife through it a couple times. We're not.
So-
You could also not peel this, slice it, and just throw it in. You would just have to fish it back out later.
Oh.
That's just another yeah.
Sure,
lot-
you could do that.
A little bit of that and some fresh turmeric. Turmeric looks a lot like ginger. Let me see
Oh,
it.
they're funky little
Yes.
things.
But orange fleshed, and those two with a little bit of honey and hot water, you got a great tea.
How do you feel? Should we pump it up? I don't know.
No, I think we're looking pretty good here. We'll go up maybe 1 or 2 more notches.
Okay.
So at this point, we're starting to develop some flavor. We're not looking to get any browning or anything on the, we're just trying to, they say sweat. So that just means at a heat high enough to bring out the moisture but not get any color on the vegetables. Okay, that's really all
Okay,
it is.
we're sweating it.
Yeah, we are. So now we're gonna add a few more. We're gonna go ahead and add this ginger in here. And then we're gonna add maybe a tablespoon or so of chopped garlic.
So Chef is using pre-chopped garlic, but which is good. So pre-chopped garlic actually has time to develop more of its antioxidant property, allicin.
Correct.
So as it sits there, so that is like it's just its beneficial property. So anti-inflammatory, anti-aging. I mean, it helps. What it really does is it helps. You got free radicals, which are like crazy cells running through your body, and the antioxidants will go in and they'll bind to it so that it doesn't do damage.
So they're not so free?
So they're not so free anymore. So that's what all the plant foods have tons of antioxidants in them. So we're just trying to boost it up a little bit more by making our garlic. So I'm going to do garlic talk.
Yeah, feel free. I'm
Ready
going to kind of
for
stir
garlic
this. Yeah, I'm ready.
Look what I have. I brought some show and tell today. This is my seed garlic for this year. So what that means is this was the best of the best from what I grew this year of my soft neck garlic.
Wow.
And I will use this to plant now. So I can plant anytime now between like December before the soil like totally freezes. You plant a clove
Okay.
of garlic now so
Okay.
that you can harvest a head of garlic in June. Now's the time. Okay, guys? So if you want to grow garlic, now is the time to get in the ground. So you would take all the garlic cloves apart, but keep the paper on, and then you plant them root side down and the pointy side up, like pretty deep into the ground, like 2-3 inches into the ground. And then you probably want to cover it with something so the squirrels won't come in and rearrange it and steal it for you. That's what I have to do. And then it may even like shoot up some greens now. And then in the spring when it warms up, or even like February, it'll start growing. And you'll get these tall green stems. And then they'll be ready to harvest in June-ish time frame, depending on where you live. So I'm happy to answer any more of your garlic questions that you may have out there. But that's kind of the gist of it. This is soft neck, so it has a softer stem. So once it's dried out, you can braid it like this. There's also hard neck garlic, which has a really stiff top, or it has like a little stem that kind of goes through it. And it's not braidable. I have some of that. It's all in a bundle. But the hard neck gets that garlic scape that grows up in the spring.
Okay.
It's like a green, kind of round-looking, string bean-looking thing.
Okay.
They're very strong flavored, the garlic scapes.
Do you prefer one over the other? Is there a difference? Is it just kind of the way?
This was my first year growing hardneck garlic, and it's not as, this is going to sound obvious, it's not as soft like the garlic itself. So the way that you like popped the knife on it to make it kind of spread flat,
Okay.
the hardneck, like it's just a little more sturdy, I guess. But it's fine. Flavor-wise, I don't know. I'm not that discerning. I'm still holding it like it's my prized possession. Me and my garlic.
It is beautiful.
This is another baby in the kitchen today. There are no babies near or far or in my future, but I have vegetable babies, so. All right. Enough blabbing about the garlic, but garlic's great. Garlic's great in soup. If you don't like garlic, it's fine. You don't need to eat garlic. Garlic powder is pretty handy. It does, some of the nutrients will diminish since it's been so like processed.
How do you know when it's ready to harvest?
How do you know when it's ready?
Yeah.
The bottom, like 2 or 3 leaves die back.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll
Okay.
turn brownish. Well, the color of the tops there.
Okay.
So once those have died back, you kind of know. So these have definitely like softened pretty well.
Okay, so now at this point, what we're gonna do is we're going to add in our chicken.
Now, or we add the chicken when it's got the broth in it?
No, I would rather, a lot of times, yes, because here's what'll happen. If you were to add the broth first and then the chicken,
It would
It-
cool the broth down.
correct. Or you'll get, have you ever boiled chicken and you see that kind of foamy
Yeah.
whiteness floating at the top and you're like, ooh, what's that?
Well,
We don't want that in our soup. So I
what
like to
is
cook it off.
Chef Josh?
It's the proteins in the protein in the meat. Have you ever cooked salmon really quick? You'll see the same thing too. As the proteins coagulate, that film kind of rises to the top. So the lower and slower, the better. I usually don't ever try to hard boil chicken. I
Yeah.
always go at a simmer or just below a simmer, as long as you're checking temperatures.
Oh, you're putting your raw chicken
know,
lid
I
right on
know,
that
I
shelf. I'm weird about raw chicken. I was like, please do not mess with any sort of raw meat up in this kitchen.
So we got about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of diced up chicken breast. You could also throw this in whole as a whole chicken breast. And then once you add your broth, let it
Bro,
simmer.
sit it over there
And
on the
then-
lid.
And then, I know, I hate setting stuff on this back counter because I've never,
It's okay. We can clean it later.
but yeah, so you could do that too and shred it as
Okay.
well versus dice. It kind of really just depends on what you like to eat.
Yeah.
Um,
I want whatever's going to get the raw chicken out of my face as quickly as possible.
and you did season the Mirepoix, correct?
I did put salt in it.
Yeah, you may want to go just a little bit more now that we've added another kind of bulky ingredient
Another, like,
there.
we're seasoning throughout. That was one of our
Correct.
rules.
And maybe a little bit of black pepper.
Yeah, sure.
Some people use white pepper as well. Just if you don't like to see black specks in your food, then use white. White has kind of more. It tastes more earthy to me. More kind of, I think haystack. If that's. I don't know. Maybe
Do you
no.
eat
Maybe the
haystacks
smell.
a lot?
Maybe barnyard is kind of the smell I get from
Barnyard.
from that. Yeah.
We have 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
Is this sucker going to be done?
Oh, is that really all we
I
got
don't know.
left?
I know. I'm telling you, time passes. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Okay. So we can crank that up a little bit then.
Okay.
And then if you want to turn the other one on as
Can we
well,
stir? Oh, yeah, we need to turn that.
and we'll get that water going for the rice noodles.
Do you want me to stir this?
Yeah.
Or let the-
yeah.
or you
no,
just
we
let the
no, we
chicken
can totally go.
Okay.
We can probably crank that up just a little bit more. So
Oh, I turned it down.
I know. I see
that's
that
my
there.
bad.
Yeah.
I'm not a great sous chef. Just a sous chef.
So we've got some lime wedges here that we're gonna do, and then we're gonna chop some cilantro. So as far as accompaniments go to put on this soup afterwards, we're gonna go cilantro, jalapenos, green onions, lime wedges,
What else?
and
That's probably it.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know. You were
probably-
just like had a list. And you felt like you could
well, you could do
Avocado.
radishes. You could do
radishes.
some baby bok choy would be good, sliced real thin. Napa cabbage would be real good.
I love Napa cabbage.
Yeah.
And I love cilantro.
Back to the back.
Someone asked a good question over in the chat. I'm going to address real quick. What type of garlic makes the green garlic that can be found in the spring in the farmer's market? That's just immature garlic.
Oh, really?
That's mostly just before it has completely split or like matured. They'll sell green garlic, and then the garlic scapes are off the hardneck garlic. That's where it's going to flower, and you want to pick it off so that it will put its energy to the root rather than to the flower. So look at your soup charcuterie board over there.
I know it. I
It's
know
all
it.
green.
But it makes it fun. It makes for a really nice presentation on the table.
For sure.
Yeah. So now all we're gonna do, we've got the water going for the rice noodles.
Come on.
I
it's
think
on
we are
3.
done with our chopping.
I turned it all the way up. I swear.
That's fine. We really don't need with rice noodles. The great thing, especially,
Oh yeah, let's go on our noodle talk.
yeah. Let's do that.
We'll get
because
your.
we're at
You
that
have
point.
your noodles.
Okay.
I brought my noodles. Chef brought his white. My brain. White rice vermicelli noodles.
Correct.
These
So I've
little
got
guys
these.
will cook almost immediately, right?
Correct. All we're gonna do is boil water and pour it over and let it steep for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
So these don't need to actually go on a stove and boil at all.
Okay.
The browns usually do. Follow the package
We're
directions.
back down to 3.
I know. I think this thing's got a mind of its own today.
Are we gonna get to eat some soup by the end of
Yeah. I
this?
think we will. We'll make
This
it
is on
happen.
3 too.
I know.
I need
So-
to speak to the electrician.
Maybe
Guys.
that's.
Maybe they're like, you're using too much power.
Yeah. I don't know because we're putting it at 7 and it's jumping back down to 3.
Well,
you never know.
technology and all.
Well, you wouldn't be a chef if you didn't know how to handle obstacles like this. So we'll get it done. Ain't no worries.
Okay, well,
No worries.
whatever. We may just have chicken soup, no noodle.
Chicken broth. Yeah. No, we're fine.
I have a whole grain rice vermicelli, which I love a whole grain because you get a little more fiber, a little more protein too. I have found this at Whole Foods though, which is where you grocery shop, isn't it?
Yeah, don't tell everybody. They make fun of me when they hear
They
that.
make fun of you?
Yeah, no, really, Whole Foods isn't bad. You just buy less of the stuff that you shouldn't really.
Yeah, because you're already spending so much. These are a great one. They cook so fast, like you said. I also like to use these rice ramen noodles. They have a little more heft to them. This is the Costco bag. Millet and brown rice ramen noodles. This Lotus Foods, they make a really good product. But these are, they look like ramen. They just, ooh, that one broke apart. They just, you have to season it yourself. You have to use your own chicken base, whatever, to make the flavors.
And I will tell you, typically when doing a brown rice, pasta, whatever, a little bit more liquid than you would traditionally use with.
In brown rice, yeah.
Correct. Especially though, I've used that brand of ramen before, and if you try to cram too many in a pot, you'll wind up with this big
glop.
Yes.
Globby.
yes.
You
So
have
just-
to rinse it underwater. You do. So you couldn't put that
Correct.
directly in your chicken noodle soup if that's what you were building. Like an egg noodle or something, you
Correct.
could put that directly in.
Correct.
Here's some other fun things that I brought. Oh, I got some pho rice noodles.
Oh wow.
These are just a little larger than those, but they're like clearish.
Yeah, they a lot of times you'll see those in Thai spring rolls.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you've ever had those, but yeah, you'll
It's a
see
good
those in
brand.
there.
They have so many different types. And then I also got this is just for me to feed my family later, but little stars. Do y'all remember chicken and stars from Campbell's? Yum.
Yes.
Love a chicken and stars. So these are stars and they have a little hole in the middle too. So that's a fun way to make soup if you're trying to convince somebody to eat it. Like add shapes, add the kid. It keeps going to 3, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know.
We don't
I know what we're
understand.
gonna do here.
Maybe it's
Well,
the extension
But what we
cords.
can do is here, we'll get rid of, just for time purposes, we'll get rid of a little bit of this water.
Oh, maybe it's too much. You can pour it in there.
Yeah.
You can pour it in that.
Okay.
No one has any questions over there. Guys, I'm going to give you a few more tips too on just hydration, on building a healthy soup or to support your immune system. Since I promised you I would share some of that. This is going to sound super simple, but stay hydrated. Get plenty of water in. I tell you what, we are fighting this. It's always a fight.
So we're gonna add a little bit of water here now.
Water. Oh, that's
Yeah.
perfect because I was just talking about hydration. So,
Yes.
this sounds gross. You said saliva earlier, I feel like, but saliva is crucial as it acts like a first immunological barrier in your nose. So it can kind of help move things along and move it out. So
Okay.
if you don't have enough moisture in your mouth and your nose, it's dry and more of those germs are going to come up in there and they're going to invade your system. So stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water. The broth in soup counts as hydration as well. So
Correct.
that's a great way to support your immune system. Keeping your gut healthy and happy. So one great way to do that is just to eat a variety of foods. So like I mentioned earlier, our fruits and vegetables and all those plant foods have those antioxidants. They are just powerful compounds that are supporting your body, but it also can support your gut as well.
Wow.
It's like food for the little microbes in there.
That is-
Prebiotics and probiotics are some words that you'll hear as well, and those are beneficial. I'll talk more about those in December. And then, yeah, just color your plate. Have colorful food because you're going to get more nutrients, and you'll be less likely to be deficient. And then one other tip that was that I forgot to put on there that's really important is eat enough. Most people
we were talking about that earlier.
we do who have who don't eat enough food. If you don't get enough calories, you are malnourished. You're more likely to be malnourished, more likely to have some deficiencies that maybe you're not aware of, and you can't fight those things off like normal.
So we're just really kind of waiting on this since our stove's
You
time.
don't want to address the fact that you eat 1 meal a day?
No, I was totally going to skip over, but I really do. I kind of graze. You know, we do a lot of tasting in the kitchen.
I'm just messing.
So, yeah, I usually don't. I skip breakfast probably 90% of the time.
And that's okay. Some
Yeah.
people do. But I think, to me, like eating is an opportunity to get in more nutrition and
Mm-hmm.
more goodness to help support a healthy body immune system. So.
Yeah, and I'm kind of bad about eating late at night, which may not be
And
the
we don't
best.
always make
Probably
the best
because I don't eat breakfast. So by the time I go to bed, I'm hungry after I've eaten dinner.
Your body's like, that wasn't enough,
Yeah,
Josh.
I know,
You
I
need
know,
more.
I know. So
Is
yeah.
are we gonna be eating raw chicken?
No, I think
or-
we're good. The chicken was about 90% of the way cooked before I added the broth in, and I can see it start to simmer now. So we're close on this one boiling. This one I kind of may.
This one is not
I don't
really
know why
coming
this one's not
together.
staying up.
We have 13 minutes to make
So
this
anyway,
happen.
no, we're good. We'll be fine.
Ooh, this is key. Tell
Okay.
them about this ingredient.
So this is better than bouillon, all right? You can find smaller jars than this, but they're going to be about the same price at most grocery stores this Costco has.
Let's go.
Yep. So this is a Costco buy. I think it's, what is this, about $7-10, something like that.
It's
So,
really not
and
bad.
it's enough to make 5-6 pots, you know, this size. So it's
More
a little
than that.
bit goes a long way with this stuff.
It's a lot. It's like a teaspoon in a cup of water
Uh-huh.
is equivalent to a broth.
Correct. And I just honestly, for me, for purposes, I just kind of taste. So I'll
Taste
I'll
what? The
ta-
broth?
no,
Rice?
I'll add as I go. So like I know I've
Okay.
got roughly a quart and a half of water in there. So you can do the math if you want to, or you can just add a little bit, taste it.
See what it tastes like.
Yeah, just remember you can always add more, but you can't take it back out.
This is true.
So just always taste along the way, and then you just kind of adjust it as you see fit. We are going to add a little bit of soy sauce and sesame oil at the end, so I don't want it to be a very, very salty soup. And we are using low sodium. White Label is a dead giveaway. The other brand, the higher sodium is dark. So just kind of watch that. This black here will kind of carry throughout. So if you're kind of looking for
So there's chicken. They have beef broth. They have a vegetable. Base.
I think they have a mushroom. Yeah,
there's
mushroom.
A mushroom base.
Yeah.
Alona has been telling me about that one.
So we're gonna add a little bit. I'm gonna grab another spoon from down here.
I feel like there's others though. Like when you're at Kroger and you look up on that top shelf, they just have a variety of bases.
Yeah, you just have to really watch the sodium.
You do. The
You
sodium
really
can
do.
creep up. And in all soups it can, which,
Yes.
we do need.
And
some
low
sodium,
sodium is not sodium free, so just keep that in mind. Those are two very, very different things. So low sodium means it has less than the higher sodium version of itself.
This is on 3 now, and that's on 7.
Yeah, I know. I think my
telling
mind's playing
you,
tricks on me today.
We don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But that chicken ain't cooked.
No,
I'm not eating this until
Nah.
it's done. We're gonna have to take this down to the kitchen and bring our AV.
Yeah, I don't know why the stove is giving us fits today. But you can kind of see the basis here. So we're getting close on the rice noodles. Those won't take, 30 seconds once we put the water on the noodles themselves. All you're gonna do is bring this to a boil, dump it on the pasta, let it sit, and you're good to go.
Okay, well, while we wait for the stuff to
For the magic to happen.
Let's talk about tomato-based soups.
Okay.
How do we make that happen?
Tomato-based soups, that's where kind of your cross between this and a sofrito would come into play. So I would start basically with this same mirepoix, and then I would just use tomato paste after you cook the mirepoix down for a couple minutes and sweat it. Add some tomato paste. I always cook tomato paste in whatever it is before adding any liquid.
Yeah.
It just kind of helps break it down a little bit, and it'll also help thicken the soup. And then I would just add canned tomatoes, whatever spices you like. You could serve it chunky. You could serve it pureed. It's just kind of immersion blender.
Yeah.
I don't like cream in mine. Some people do creamy tomato soup. I prefer just a little bit of fresh herbs at the end. So
I did. People are probably like, where was the recipe? Well, you can scan that QR code that's on the screen now, and that'll take you to the slide deck. But I didn't really create recipes for you guys. I more so did a guide. So it's a template. It's the ingredients and the directions and the order that we would do things. And we believe in you. You can do this at home. So cooking at home, you just have more control of the ingredients. You can cut back on the salt. You can cut back on the fats and whatever. But when you buy from the grocery store and wherever else, they load it up.
Correct.
They want you to buy it.
They do.
It tastes good.
They do. And there's nothing from stopping you from taking this base right here, leaving out the ginger and maybe using regular oil or canola oil instead of coconut oil, adding whatever veggies you want, some canned tomatoes or fresh tomatoes. Call it a chicken vegetable soup. I mean,
What about that Tuscan white bean you're good at making?
we made that today in the cafe, and it was really good. But we were trying to figure out why they call it Tuscan soup, and
it's very popular in Tuscany.
Correct. That's a determination we came up with.
On the back half of Italy, the country itself. So anyway, I wrote out the most tomato-based soups, how to go in those orders, and then I also wanted to share that I was gonna make this before I recruited Chef Josh to be my sous chef today. The copycat zuppa toscana from Olive Garden. I love this soup with all my heart. I was gonna make that, and there really weren't a lot of skills to teach throughout, but other than the fact that it's just delicious. But
well, and I think that is the only one I really eat there. I don't because I can't get past it. I can't. They do that all you can eat soup and salad, and
soup, salad, breadsticks.
Yeah, just bring me that soup all day long.
All day, please, more.
Yeah, correct.
It's delicious. There's lots of copycat recipes on the internet, and it's like I said, you don't have to have a lot of kitchen know-how
to pull it off.
That one out. Yeah. Well, okay, this one's on 7, this one's on 3. Where we're at, and that's where we're gonna be. We are not in control here.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes things happen and you can't help it. So.
Joan said she loves to substitute coconut aminos for soy sauce. That's a really good point, Joan.
Yeah, I have my cousin's wife does that a lot too. The amino acids. They do make a non-coconut one, which is I think right. I think there's one that's just amino acids and there's one that's coconut. So
coconut aminos and then amino acids.
Yeah.
Just aminos.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I can't remember.
Amino
But I've had them
acids
and I really like it.
are the building blocks of protein. I don't know. Coconut aminos, though, that's like fermented coconut. Do you know how they make that?
I don't.
I've looked it up before, but I did not store it in my memories. But it's a great option if you are avoiding soy and what's the other allergen in soy sauce? My brain is turned off. Is it
Sesame,
gluten?
soy. I mean, that's kind of.
Sorry, guys. My dietitian brain is shut down.
Well, you got 9 major ones, but soy seems to be a pretty big one. And
The
soy
soy-
is in a lot of products, so you really have to kind of watch that one as well.
So I'm sharing a neat trick. If you want creamy soup, they call it coconut milk concentrate or just like coconut cream or whatever. So if you're
Yes.
avoiding dairy, you can't have dairy. Coconut milk is a really great alternative. And you can get coconut cream, which is just the really thick part of it. Very dense, but
Yeah.
it'll make a creamy soup if you can't have cream
Hmm
and you miss it and you want some.
It makes a great frother for cappuccinos as well. Just
Coconut cream
Uh-huh.
or coconut milk?
you could use either.
Oh, I
Just
love
depends
a
on
frothy
how.
cappuccino.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a great one.
Hmm
You don't add a lot of sugar, and you get that kind of sweetness out of it. And it's good to go.
I like to sprinkle raw sugar on top of the foam,
Oh yeah,
and then you like crunch on it.
hands down.
Anyway.
It's good.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left, my friends. We may not be tasting soup by the end of this. I'm not tasting that yet.
No,
I
it
don't
definitely
trust it
needs to
yet.
cook a little bit longer. We maybe should have had some water boiling
I
freehand,
don't.
but
We didn't
you
know
know,
we
it
were
is
gonna
what it is.
be
You
given
guys
this
can kind of see the
obstacle.
gist of it. And then again, these rice noodles, you'll soak them until they feel soft. You strain off the water, and then the only way I would build this would be to put the noodles in the center of the bowl, soup around it, and then you kind of garnish it however you see fit on
And
the top.
we will do
So,
that, and I'll get my food photographer hat and put it on,
Yeah,
and I will post that to the Buzz.
maybe we can get a picture afterwards. Maybe I can.
Yeah,
So at least
we'll
you
show you
guys
what
get
it
to
looks
see
like.
the finished product. Yeah.
Could you make this for the hub?
Yeah, we can totally make that happen.
Does
Chef,
anyone here who's on the webinar?
Chef
come
kind
to
of
the
gives me
hub?
free reign. We do have a fit soup that we offer every day, and that one's kind of set. I mean, it changes every day, but we have to have a fit soup every day. The other one is kind of up to you
Creativity.
all. So feedback is important.
Yeah,
We want to give you what you want, so just let us know.
You can always give us feedback. The
Yeah.
feedback link is on our dining website, which you can get to by going to go/nutrition or my Buzz Viva Engage page or whatever you want to call it. There's a link over there. So if you're like, I have a hankering, I want chili 3 times a week, you can let us know. Maybe we'll make it happen.
Well, now I feel obligated to make this soup because
I feel obligated for you to make this soup too.
Yeah, and the only difference would be I would probably go ahead and put that, like normally I would serve this with noodles kind of on the side, and I would
Yeah.
probably do them in the soup. That way you guys aren't coming in and spending 10 minutes kind of building your own. I know lunch breaks are precious.
Oh, I see what
So,
you're saying.
yeah, just to
Go
kind of
ahead
speed
there.
up their end of it all.
That's true.
Yep.
Well,
so-
folks, do you have any questions? Anything out there you want to share? We're going to go ahead and give you the QR code so that you can fill out your survey. I'll post it in the chat as well. But if you, for whatever reason, cannot get to it, email me and I will send you the link as well. But it's on the Viva Engage page. It's Nutrition with the Flick Dietitian. You can go out there and find the link. And that's if you need your Wow Bucks. Not much time left for Wow Bucks in the world.
Uh-oh.
It's all getting reimagined. And
Yep.
next year, Humana will give them a new well-being platform that we're excited to learn about. But you can still earn Wow Bucks. So Wow Bucks will be done at the end of November. And so gather them up while you can. Or you can just give us feedback. We're open to that as well in the survey.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, guys, because we really do. We see all your all's feedback, and we use it to, like I said, to give you guys what you want in the cafe every day, and make sure that we're meeting your needs. So, yeah.
you could go elsewhere, but it's also real convenient to be in a cafe. So a lot of these people don't, unfortunately, have a cafe available to them.
But as you can see by today, this is why I get here at 4:35 in the morning, just in case our stove doesn't work and I have to
know.
get some soup out. By the time we open up. So.
Well, we've got 2 minutes left. Just
Okay.
a reminder, there's another webinar next Thursday. We're making soup. Again, we're making Three Sisters soup, which uses 3 key ingredients for Native American cooking.
Okay.
Corn. Do you know the Three Sisters?
Well, I don't, but I know we're having that in the cafe
yeah,
next week as
to
well.
go along with it.
Correct.
Corn, beans, and squash. And then I'll have a guest, Shelby, with me, and we'll be talking about Native American indigenous cooking, ingredients, talking about white whole corn, just a bunch of various things that I found to be very interesting as I learned about
Yeah.
it. Anyway, but that's that, my friends. We're going to be done. There's no questions in the chat. You guys aren't very chatty today, but that's okay, unless I missed your questions. But thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
For making us soup.
Yeah.
gonna
Rachel
finish
Ray
this.
definitely wouldn't invite me on 30-minute meals. So
No, we didn't
no,
make it.
I know.
We talk too much. She talks fast.
We got
I don't know how she does it, but thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And thanks for joining today. You'll
Thank
have a
you.
wonderful almost weekend and happy fall.
Crackers in my soup, monkeys